Many of us are very fortunate in the fact that we have a loving home and family, but not everyone is so lucky. There are orphans all around the world who don't have these things that we take for granted. And think about being an orphan. Think about the day that you're told you're going to be adopted. You finally meet your new parents, and everything in your life is looking up, but then they tell you they no longer want you. Children all across the United States are being privately rehomed after adoption. Many adoptive parents have decided that they no longer want a child, so they sell or give their child away to strangers via the internet. What if this happened to your child? Yes, I know you may not all have children, but it's possible that one day you could. And it's also possible that through some tragic event, you could one day lose your life and your child would become an orphan. Would you want that child to go to a loving family just to be then handed over to someone with child molestation charges? The act of private rehoming of adopted children is a growing concern that needs to be addressed. New laws need to be established now to protect these children from being rehomed. Now, most people know that adopting a child is a long, expensive, and stressful process. So why would anyone want to go through all of that heartache just to give their child away? In Difficulties of Child Adoption, Lorna Brierly tells her readers that there's a grave lack of appreciation of the problems involved in child adoption, the consequent need for safeguards to protect the child from unwise placement, and the tragedy of the parents failing. To begin to tell Congress about this need for new laws, it's necessary for us to understand why these children are being rehomed and why the parents are failing. Most of the child rehoming cases do in fact have similarities. Most children have emotional or behavioral issues that the parents are unaware and unprepared for. Most of these parents do also reach out to adoption agencies and get little to no help, so they look at more drastic measures. My husband and I are seeking to find a new, loving home for our daughter, adopted a year and a half ago. She is 8 years old and was adopted from India. She has ADHD and was just diagnosed with RAD, and we cannot handle these issues. We have done our best, but it was just not enough. Please contact me if you would like to discuss the possibility of adopting this child. This was a post on a Yahoo ad, as described by Catherine Huber, in Free to a Good Home, America's unregulated online market of adopted children. There are certain reasons why parents are choosing to give their child away over the internet, and it's not as simple as to say that these parents are heartless or don't love the child, but it's much more complex. First, many parents are choosing to give their child away because they have behavioral or emotional issues. For example, the couple in the Yahoo ad stated that their child was just diagnosed with RAD. Patrick Day, an extension specialist for the University of Nevada, explained that RAD stands for Reactive Attachment Disorder and is any disruption in the attachment process resulting in a child's failure to form a secure bond or attachment with their new parental figures. So in this case, this child in the ad was disrupted during the attachment process and didn't get to form that secure bond with her parents. There's no question that the adoption process is stressful on the children, and it can often lead to these emotional disorders such as RAD. When setting up adoptions, agencies do not prepare clients for children who have these types of issues. And it's not as simple as to say that they're rejecting their child because of her disorder. These parents tried for a year and a half to raise their child, but felt that they weren't fulfilling her needs. And what would one do if they were faced with these children, but they weren't receiving any help after they were struggling for so long? Second, adoption agencies do not fully support families post-adoption. While some may try, it may not be enough. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration of Children and Families says that adoption is a lifelong process. Families often need additional support at various times after placement and after the adoption has been legally finalized. Likewise, a 2005 article from the Journal of American Medical Association explains how international adoptions can be very difficult because the children are uprooted from more than just their home, but their entire way of life and culture. The article stated that after adoptive placement, adoptees have to cope with integrating the loss of their culture and birth family into their lives. This act of adoption, then rehoming, is horrible for children and must be stopped. Not only are the children feeling even more unloved and unwanted, but they could be being placed in abusive homes that have had no background checks or inspections. Marianne Levine described in a 2014 article in the LA Times that because there are no uniform regulations for private rehoming, children risk being transferred to abusive families. In fact, she reported of one instance of a man now in prison for child pornography who took home a 10-year-old boy whose adoptive parent had used an online site to transfer custody. Obviously, this new environment could be very detrimental to the child, and this is why it is of the utmost importance that these problems are resolved. To fix these problems, we first must recognize that it is imperative that the adoption agencies are fully aware of the types of needs that the child has and are openly honest with prospective parents and clients. It's also necessary to provide support after the adoption process has been fulfilled. When these people reach out, they have to get the support that they need, or they will begin to look at other more drastic measures. We must fight to get agency rules and aid changed so that they are more beneficial to parents and to children. And second, legislation is absolutely necessary for these cases. We have to speak up and make Congress hear that there is an absolute need to protect these children from such situations. Laws need to be established right now that require parents to rehome children through the courts, not through Craigslist. Congress also needs to crack down on social sites that are allowing the rehoming of children in their ads. Now, many people may think that these circumstances are unheard of, but that is wrong. Emily Matchard from Time magazine states that, as it turns out, broken adoptions are far more common than one might realize. According to statistics from the Federal Children's Bureau, as many as 10% of adoptions are dissolved, meaning the parent-child relationship is broken after the adoption is finalized. So adoptive parents are rehoming children because they are unprepared or unaware of issues that the child might have, and adoption agencies are not providing the support and aid that adoptive families need to overcome those issues. Think about the little boy who was rehomed to a man who then faced child pornography charges. Let your imagination run wild as you think about the absolute horrible things that that child may have had to endure. If that doesn't tell you that there's a need to put an end to this now and that new legislation needs to be established, I don't know what will.